markets across India, cut in home loan interest was meant to be a demand booster. Well, home loan rates have now slipped to a tad below the double-digit mark of 10%. But has this brought really some life back to the property markets, or is it too soon to predict? What really is happening to real estate across India? To answer some of those questions, we begin today with our annual roundup of property markets on the Realty debate, starting with Greater Mumbai. Why Mumbai? For one, it is India's most populous city, so it deserves a lot of our attention. And it has also been in news recently with the state's chief minister throwing out Mumbai Development Plan 2034 out of the window for some glaring oversights. From a housing perspective, the entire industry may get paralyzed for almost a year, as neither approvals for existing projects will come through, nor will the industry be able to acquire or launch new projects. The supply is likely to be hit for nearly 2 to 3 years, some analysts say, because of these factors. So let's welcome my panelists and get on with the debate. We've got Sunil Mantri, CMD, Mantri Realty and President Narrateco joining us from Mumbai. Also Mayur Shah, Managing Director, Marathon Group and Vice President, MCHI Expo. Ramesh Nair, Chief Operating Officer, Business and International Director, JLL India. Nitin Kilawala, Practicing Architect and Director, Group 7 Architects and Planners. And Sameer Jasuja, Founder and MD of Prop Equity. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think the Development Plan 2034, the fallout of it has been much talked about. But I think, Mayur, if I had to come to you and ask you, what's been the real fallout for developers of the plan being junked and now gone back to the drawing board? 4 months is what it's going to take, or even more perhaps.
Manisha, I think the biggest problem is that the time, time and again things are on the plan, on the rules, keeps on changing, and that gives a tough time to the developers, whether they are buying a new land or they are on the planning stage or on a development mode. So that's the biggest hurdle when things keeps on changing, and to a certain a little longer period. But in any case, the Mumbai DP plan, it's a very mammoth task, right. And having all the stakeholders happy is very difficult to have in a Mumbai DP plan. But there was a great effort taken, and I think we feel that with whatever revision it will be improved, and in up to 2034 we will have a very good development plan which will create a Mumbai a good, vibrant, dynamic city.
Ramesh Nair, would you agree with that fact that it's better that the current plan has been scrapped and a new one will be tabled because there were several discrepancies in it?
Manisha, firstly, what the Chief Minister's office said that, what they said was, it's not scrapped, it's been sent back for revision. Now BMC needs to review the plan. There are a lot of mistakes, close to 25 to 30,000 objections came. The biggest worry here is, what was the intent? The intent of the Chief Minister was to bring in supply, thereby increasing FSI, and then because supply increases, overall prices reduce, making Mumbai more affordable. But I think it's what is being played out is exactly the opposite. What is going to happen is what we saw in 2011 when the amendments to the old DP were being made. Nearly 1 year there were no approvals. Then it took another 6 months to 9 months for the developers and architects to actually understand what the impact of the new DP is. So what we saw was, while demand fell 40% back in 2011, supply also fell by 40%, because of which prices never corrected. So people complaining, buyers complaining that prices in Mumbai don't correct, have to actually blame the government, because government in 2011 did this, and now in 14 is doing the same. What we're going to see is land deals over the last 2-3 months have literally stopped. We are also seeing most developers not launching any new projects. Everybody is confused if it's going to be the old DP or the new DP which needs to be followed. Now that the Chief Minister has told it's going to happen in the next 4 months, which we believe is definitely not possible. It's a new DP where so much of new ground surveys have to be done. It's definitely not going to happen. So we believe the government needs to take efforts to simplify, to create supply in the market rather than restrict supply. And all this is only going to lead to prices further going up.
Okay, Sunil Mantri, would you agree that under the current uncertainty, Developers are going to be very shy of launching new projects?
Yes, Manisha. I think what Ramesh just spoken, I think seems to be correct what is precisely happening in the market. Everybody is waiting for the new DP to be launched. You will see very few launches which are going to happen in about 4 month time as government stipulated, but in my view, it should take anything between 8 to 12 months by the time the new DP is on. You need to also keep in mind there were about 50 to 60,000 objections which the municipal corporation received. They need to address that while giving the new DP. The third, I think there were a lot of mistakes what the government realized. They need to correct that also while publishing the new DP. Therefore, in most of the cases where the developer want to launch the project, he may wait till the new DP is on, and then only the launches will come. This means there will be a slow inventory movement, slow new supply coming in the market for a couple of months from now.
I must though ask Sameer Jasuja, we'll go through the prop equity data of demand, supply and the unsold stock a little later on the show. But Sameer, do you buy this argument that because supply has been muted, developers have been unclear, there have been many changing rules and regulations over the last 3 years for Mumbai developers, and that's the reason why prices are unnaturally high of Mumbai real estate?
I would actually not agree with you completely. I think the most important point to be kept in mind is that we have a huge demand supply mismatch in the Mumbai city. We are not referring to Thane and Panvel over here. So when you talk about Mumbai as a city, you have not more than 35 to 45,000 units being launched, and the price points developers can literally command because there is not enough supply and the demand is much higher. When you move to Thane and Navi Mumbai, that is constituting maximum new launches in the MMR region, and there the pricing has gone up substantially, but at the same time there is enough supply for prices not to go up instantaneously like they've gone in Mumbai. And especially the most important point that has to be kept in mind is that Mumbai prices that you see on our data is also primary prices. The secondary prices is even higher. So the mismatch in secondary versus primary is also a lot because Mumbai just doesn't have enough ready stock, and the biggest dream of a Mumbaiker typically is to have his own apartment because the rental is also extremely high. If you look at across the board, rentals have crashed by about 50% except Bangalore and Mumbai in the last 2-3 years. Mumbai has maintained the rentals and gone higher on the residential side, whereas commercial in Mumbai is dropping and commercial everywhere else going up.
All right, that's very, very curious, but these are some of the numbers, not new, but every time you hear about them, they still tend to jolt you. Now, 60% Mumbaikars, let's flash these figures, 60% Mumbaikars live in houses of less than 650 square feet. 70% of Greater Mumbai lives in one-room tenements. Imagine 70% of Greater Mumbai, and 42% of the total population of 12.5 million Mumbaikars lives in slums. Now, affordability, as Sameer just pointed out, and or the demand supply mismatch, what are the houses which are coming in the market and can people really afford them is a big question. The biggest problem of Mumbai, just look at this statistics. Only 9% of the population in Mumbai earns more than 60,000 rupees, and the median income of Mumbaikar, it's called the city of dreams, and of course it is the city of rich, but imagine the median income of Mumbai is just 20,000 rupees. So majority cannot afford the lowest price of even a single bedroom public housing unit, which costs 14 lakh rupees. Nitin Kilawala, I mean, we are talking about the Mumbai development plan, but you looked at the plan, there were 30,000 plus objectives, but were these facts considered? Does the government have these very, very startling facts in view when it's looking at coming out with a new or a changed plan?
I think you have hit the nail, right. When a DP is made, and normally this development plan is always done after 2 decades, we expect that all the citizens are taken care Now, as you mentioned, more than 60% of people they are staying in slums. 20% are in dilapidated houses or one-room tenements. Now, what we talk about the real estate development, especially by private real estate developers, they have their own niche market, which caters to only maybe 5 to 10% of the population. So this DP does not touch at all 60% of the population, which is almost 75 lakhs people. So there is something fundamentally wrong. Now, when you look at the basic intent or the vision for this DP, it's really fantastic. It says inclusiveness. It also says about quality of life. It talks about so many other good aspects of good quality of living. But what it is transpired into, there are two sets. One is preparatory studies and other one is the actual implementation. So there is no connect at all between what they got the data in terms of preparatory studies and what is being implemented. So this is something which is very, very basic. Even we get budgets every year and common people are affected. Here a DP which is done after 2 decades has not touched at all about 60 to 80% of the population.
Okay.
And why it is so? Why our prices in Bombay are more than Dubai? There is no justification whatsoever. This DP also recognizes the facts that almost 1/3 of water supply is not even built. There is no mechanism to collect this. Only 2% of the slum dwellers are have access to sewage. These are very basic and fundamentals, which we are not really addressing it. And we are talking of only FSI. Fine, increase in FSI is always good. So that unnecessarily artificial scarcity which has been created is to some extent taken care. So here, a very good thing in DP is that FSI is considered as not as your entitlement. FSI is used as a planning tool. Now, if this is made affordable, which is not really happening, because along with the FSI, they are also charging premium A, premium B, and so on and so forth. So, in real terms, the real estate price is the basic resource, the main resource of the land is always going to go up. The cost of that is also going to go up.
Mr. Kilawala, very, very good point made. Let's just look at some of the fundamental flaws which the development plan of Mumbai 2034, which has just gone back to the drawing board with BMC, had. Now, as Mr. Kilawala pointed out, it did propose to increase FSI, very good, but what was the thought behind state of infrastructure? The infrastructure also needed to get enough thought, because you can't keep populating people or areas without having adequate infrastructure. Opening up of no development zones for residential development, now that was a very, very big question mark. Many areas of the city which were under other special planning authorities such as the SRA, SIDCO, MMR, Dharavi, Back Bay, the Mumbai airport, all had been kept out of the purview of the plan. There was no strategy which has been recommended to incorporate a holistic development of slums, is one of the big concerns that Mr. Kilawala just pointed out. Mumbai's RA colony, over 2,000 hectares of green cover, was listed in the plan not as a forest but as a growth center, and as many as 1,048 heritage structures along with several other landmarks were omitted from the plan. So some of these of course have been spoken about. Ramesh Nair, I'm going to come back to you. You spoke about land. So there's a very, very delicate balance between exploiting your green cover for building commercial or residential and actually exploiting land so that you don't have price rise as much as you see in Mumbai. Do you think Mumbai has enough land without actually touching or destroying its green cover to be able to bring down prices of real estate? That's the big question.
Number of mistakes made, some of which you summarized, Manisha, but there was hardly any discussion on open areas. The city has 1.1 square meter per person of open area. If you look at internationally, a city like London has 30 square meter per person. Cities like New York, Chicago have 25 square meter per person. So that was not touched upon. Green areas again not touched upon. There was hardly any discussion on infrastructure. We are increasing FSI, taking it to 5, 6.5, 8. Does the city have enough infrastructure to support it? Also, they made some lot of mistakes, like if today the city needs parking, but additional parking has been brought in into the it becomes regular FSI. So a developer actually needs to buy FSI from the government if he needs to do additional parking. So that's a mistake again. Clubhouse again has become part of FSI again. So what we're going to see is developers are not going to create those amenities. They're not going to create those additional parking slots. A lot of mistakes you mentioned, bringing in RA Colony as a growth center, big mistake the government did. Areas like Pali Hill, making it into hawker zones, one of the most posh prime residential areas. So many mistakes like this could have been fixed. What we believe is to get the land, what the government needs to do is, there are a lot of plans, like we have, the government has a plan to create 5 growth centers outside from Virar Vasai to the Kalyan stretch, to the Bhiwandi stretch, to Panvel, to Pen Alibag stretch. So these 5 growth centers which the government wants to create, move population to those locations, create jobs there. So those are some of the things the government can do. All these are work in progress plans. The government needs to work hard to kind of make sure it's implemented fast.
All right. In fact, we do have a very interesting survey from McKinsey on how much land is available without actually destroying the green coverage. We will come back and look at that. But just look at what the Chief Minister said when he sent back the Mumbai development plan onto the drawing board. He said Mumbai's image will be hit if the city can't even prepare a DP properly after 2 decades. In governance, DP is an instrument to develop cities' infrastructure, amenities and green space. People have the right to decide the DP as it will determine the future of the city for the next 20 years. A very powerful statement. On our way back, we are going to look at where is the land in Mumbai, how do prices come back and what do you do? The data that I have, prop equity data, shows me that the inventory overhang, which is existing stock in the Mumbai city or greater Mumbai region, is just selling at a very, very slow pace. Overhang as of February 2015 has been 48 months in some of the markets. So some of the data which throws a lot of light and also a lot of questions. On our way back. Stay with us. Welcome back. While property markets across India have slowed down, it's quite well accepted that National Capital Region and Mumbai or Greater Mumbai have been hit harder than the rest of the country. With our focus today on Mumbai, let's run through some of the prop equity data before we get to the bottom of how tough things are. Now, Mumbai, if I look at it between 2013 and 2014, unsold stock in Mumbai increased by 8.5%. In Navi Mumbai, it increased by almost 5%. In Thane, it actually went down by 11%. So that was a curious fact till I actually saw this figure on why has the unsold stock in Thane gone down, because the maximum number of launches have been in Thane, but not really. If you come to 2014, in Thane, you have new launches dropping by 60%. So all of Mumbai new launches have dropped, yet the existing stock is not selling well. Samir, you talked about the demand supply mismatch, but these kind of figures are very worrying, aren't they?
Well, worrying in one aspect, that the market is really down in the dumps. Sales are very slow. If you look at the new supply, it's come down to 2009 levels, and we are sitting in 2015. We are down by 50% over the last year. Now, this from a developer perspective augments that the developers are not going to be doing too well in the coming few years. But if you look at from a pricing perspective, with the new launches coming down, the prices are not going to come down, because we're not going to just get affordability at all into the market because of lack of new launches. So whatever the unsold stock is in the market, although it's a high number of 2 lakh units, but at the same time, as MMR combined, developers will hold on to those stocks and not bring down prices, because they have no ways and means to make further monies, because new buyers are just not coming into the market. So from a pricing perspective, it's a big negative, because prices are not going to come down from or a big positive. And from the other perspective, which is developers doing really badly, the market's not getting efficient, the market's not adding new infrastructure, both in terms of new housing, or even, for example, if you start looking at commercial, because no new housing is coming up, commercial and rentals are high on the commercial side, Mumbai is not adding too much on the employment generation side. Look at Bangalore. the office space has gone up so much, and that is leading to, that's a big lead indicator for residential housing doing much better. Today Bangalore, even small cities like Noida are selling more than Mumbai.
Gosh, Ramesh Nair, I saw an article which of course came to our inbox yesterday. You said it may look like the developers are holding on to prices, but if you look at the kind of deals which are out there in the market, you can see that they are doing the best that they can to give a good deal to the buyer, isn't it?
Yes, most developers at the recently concluded MCHI exhibition were offering a lot of freebies, a lot of incentives, a lot of financial packages, 80-20 schemes, 90-10 schemes, 95-5 schemes, developer agreeing to furnish the apartment, developer confirming rentals for 2 years. So number of schemes. Now this is developers not charging for floor rises, developers not charging for preferential views, developers actually paying for registration, stamp duty, legal costs. So all these are the discounts which is already in place. Although developers are not dropping their base price, all these discounts can become a considerable amount of saving for the home buyer.
All right. Mayur Shah, would you feel that the distress is so much that at some point of time that prices will simply have to come down? They will have to go beyond these deals which are getting offered, because that's a lot of buyers are waiting on the sidelines, just hoping for prices to crack. Are they going to? Is there room for it?
Manisha, this is a little different story than 2008, 2009.
Okay. Tell us how.
Right now, the input cost of a Mumbai developer is so high, there is not much margin remain now. Look at the construction cost, land cost, TDR cost, fungible cost. The ready reckoner rates have been increased, so we have to pay as per the ready reckoner. Now the increase in the premium in the last month only, they have done from 33% to 60% of ready reckoner rate. So the built up cost available to a developer is so high, and there is not much margin now available for him to really reduce price.
Mr. Mantri, there was so much expectations from the new government and the new chief minister. In fact, prior to him getting elected, he was in close consultation with MCHI and Naredco. What happened? I mean, approval processes haven't changed. Where are your achhe din? In December, when we talked before the elections, you said, oh, new government, new things will happen, we'll get our approvals, maybe things will improve, and achhe dins are around the corner. Well, what's happening? Has anything changed at all?
Not much, Manisha, frankly speaking. We have a lot of hopes. Just last week only we had a big convention of Naredco where the chief minister himself addressed. I think we placed a few demands in front of him. One is approval through architects. Second, I have suggested that 50% approval should be given within 3 days time. You have say 7-8 checklist, and based on that presumption, 50% clearance should be given within 3 days. That was a demand made. Chief Minister reacted positively. He is willing to consider, but actually on the ground reality, many reforms are required to be taken place. Our major grievances with the Chief Minister and the government is that they are increasing all the premium, all the charges, all the levies abruptly, which is making us the cost unaffordable. For example, in a city like Mumbai, on an average, the FAR cost or the premium cost is between 10 to 15,000 rupees a square feet. After new government came in power, the TDR prices have went up by 70 to 80%, from 3,000 rupees to 5,000 rupees.
Right.
So maybe TDR lobby might have got a chedin, but then other developers are suffering.
Nitin Kilawala, okay, all right, carry on, sir.
There is a foolproof formula. If the government wants to apply that, the prices will surely come down. They have to do 3 or 4 things correctly, and it will be a win-win situation in every which way. Number one, they have to introduce reform and fast track the redevelopment and the SRA process. Now look at it from a developer point of view. He doesn't have to pay a single rupee for the land if it's an SRA project or a redevelopment project. Cash flows get protected, financing costs come down. That's number one. Number two, you have to increase the FSI for those land parcels, because then you can accommodate more families. Number three, that you got to fast track the system of ensuring that SRA projects don't take six years for approval to happen. And lastly, you have to make it mandatory that there are X number of projects that have to go through SRA and have to go through redevelopment to ensure enough supply at a lower cost comes into the market. If you follow that, you will get enough supply in Mumbai for prices not to go up.
Nitin Kilawala, would you agree? At some point, it seems like developers should be out of business. This is just such a difficult business to do. But then look at the number of people who do not want to leave real estate development. Margins, they may claim, have become very thin, but then they're still all in the business and hoping for those good days to come. So what do you think is happening in Mumbai between the government, the developers and the Aam Aadmi? What are the disconnects?
So whatever we have been discussing for last 10 minutes or so is for, as I mentioned, for the 5% of the population as far as Mumbai is concerned. Now, to construct a house, what do you need? You need land and you need money. Government has got abundant land. All the government institutions, whether it is MMRDA, SIDCO, MADA, etc., they all have huge tracts of land, but they have become, instead of developing, they themselves have become, like real estate agents. They are in the selling mode, with the result that even the SRA, which we just talked about, 60% of population is they are living in slums, but they occupy only 8% of the land mass. Now with this SRA scheme, we had Rajiv Awas Yojana, we have Shiv Sahib Prakalp for last decade or so. It has all been a sham. All SRA or all slum lands which has been pushed into one block, create towers for the slum dwellers, and adjacent to that you have another tower which is luxury tower. Today all ads which you see in papers, whether it is even in Palghar or Panvel, they are all luxury houses. How long can you construct luxury houses, or how long can you sustain them? And why this is happening, that over 3 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs houses are still not sold, and yet prices are not coming down. So this is the basic mismatch.
Absolutely.
So unless we don't reduce the prices of the land, you don't make it more attractive, you don't make it more affordable, it is not going to happen. I'll take 1 more minute about this SRA. In last decade or so, we have generated almost 75 lakh square meters of slum TDR. What is happening to this TDR? Where it has gone?
That's a good question.
And who has benefited? We have, I got these papers. Almost 1 crore 13 lakh square meters of TDR has been generated in Mumbai. Why? Because we wanted to have real estate prices to come down. It has never come down.
But it
With
hasn't.
more FSI, you don't add more households. You only add more construction areas. So
All
this
right.
has to be understood. It's high time we understand
I
this.
think Nitin Kilawala, you've raised very, very important points. So what's happening if there has been land which has been released through SRA, and if FSI has gone up, how come prices haven't come down? I mean, housing stock for all, for Mumbaikars, not just the top 9% people, it's still a very, very far away dream. We come back for the solutions from all our panelists. Ami has already outlined 3 of them, but all our panelists have some ideas, and let's get to those in a moment. Right before the break, we had panelists suggesting that land in Mumbai is the most precious resource, and because land prices continue to remain artificially high, that's the reason why 95% of Mumbaikars really do not have a home where they can call their own. Now, where can the land come from? If you look at Mumbai's topography, there is plenty of land. This is a McKinsey report which says 91 square kilometer total area required to address affordable housing demand. Now, various sources that government can make use of: 46 square kilometer area from rehabilitation of slum land, 12 square kilometer area from mandates on private land, 6 square kilometer redevelopment of current government housing with increased FAR, up to 127 square kilometer other sources to be made available by the government, which includes part of the salt pan lands, port trust land, other government held land, and land outside the city limits. Mayur Shah, is it that easy? So you're saying if you have land and if you get your approvals quicker, then most of you would move to creating an affordable housing stock. Or as Nitin Kilawala very rightly pointed out, in the SRA projects, what is the need of making these super luxury towers which don't sell, and create a, why not just create a larger stock of affordable housing there? It's a really, really important question.
So I agree with Nitin Bhai on the land prices. If your land prices are not affordable, today we have worked out that minimum at the worst location where the land prices are lowest,
That I
Bhandup
agree.
also.
Mayur, we all accept the land prices issue. What I'm saying is, if land prices come down, would you be able to create and you get faster approvals? Would developers move to afford really creating affordable housing, or are there other concerns? Because there's just, we just don't have any consensus on how affordable housing stock will get created.
At Badlapur, if the land price is at 200 rupees a square feet, we've been able to sell at 1800 rupees a square feet.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
we've been able to give at 10 lakhs. But in Mumbai, when the land prices are already at 3 to 5,000 rupees a square feet, on the top of it, premium costs are 5,000 rupees a square feet. So, and the construction at 5,000, you have 15,000 is a base price. So, you cannot, a private developer cannot sell a low cost housing which we are talking about. The low cost housings are already, can only be created by a private developer through this urban renewal, where we've been able to develop a rehab component or the slum component which have been rehoused.
Okay.
And for the benefit which is available, we have to really cross subsidize on the sale area. So that's the whole game which can be played only in Mumbai.
Fair enough.
If your land prices are not low, a developer cannot really give at 40 lakhs or 50 lakhs which people are talking about.
Okay.
Those 40-50 lakhs are only possible in the outskirts, Ambernath, Badlapur, Panvel, all those locations where land prices are reasonably priced.
Let's move the discussion a little bit away from affordable housing. We all know what the challenges are, and I think the panelists have pretty much laid it out. Ramesh Nair, where is the Mumbai market with the current housing stock standing? Your inventory overhang numbers are looking very worrying, and you have developers who are saying, look, there is no incentive to actually come out with new launches or new projects. So how do you see 2015 panning out? Who's going to blink first? Do you think you will have buyers coming back after some wait saying prices are not going to come down, or developers will blink first?
If you look at the overall unsold inventory, our research says, depending on which micro market in Mumbai, it varies anywhere between 30 to 40 months of unsold inventory. Our expectation of price increase this year in Mumbai is around 6 to 7% is the capital value appreciation expected. What a potential buyer needs to do is go sit with the prospective developer he wants to transact with, show the checkbook and tell you want to do a deal. And many developers today are willing to give a discount. Developers will not publicize these discounts. They wouldn't advertise these discounts. They wouldn't offer it on a phone. So sit in front of the developer and try and negotiate a price. Again, coming back to the previous discussion that land, if a lot of FSI is given, overall pricing will come down. I have my concerns on that, because the landlords, people who own the land, will obviously know that his land value is going to go up because FSI is going to go up. He is going to work backwards based on construction costs, profits, and going to arrive at his land cost. People like us will market those lands for landlords and sell it to developers. So price is obviously going to go there. Second is, what the government has done is give you extra FSI, but what the viewer needs to realize is that extra FSI, which is called Premium A and Premium B, it comes at 70% of the ready reckoner rates and 100% of the ready reckoner rates. So it's not government is giving you free FSI for you to build. So once these two things get inbuilt, obviously the prices of units go up. So fully agree with what Mayur Bhai just mentioned.
Absolutely. So there are challenges, but if you had to just, you're saying 6 to 7% is the capital appreciation you will see. Sameer, any timeline on when the huge inventory overhang will actually, the entire supply will get absorbed? Is it going to take 2.5 years, which means that 2.5 years is going to be a slow market, or do you think that some triggers could actually revive the market?
See, Manisha, the triggers have to come through the economy. I think I think the whole of India, in my view, has gone into a sleep mode with respect to real estate investments. I don't see investors in the market at all unless they're getting deep distress. So what Ramesh said is absolutely right, that I would feel that this is probably the best time to buy by negotiating with the developer across the table, and you'll be surprised what kind of deals you may be able to get, because developers today really need cash flows. But unless the economy really starts to turn around and investors start seeing deep value in real estate, the real estate is going to be in doldrums, especially in tier 1 cities like Mumbai, Delhi, Gurgaon, for the next 18 to 24 months. I am talking to some serious private equity funds all the time who have real data coming to them, and they are saying that we are in a situation which is much worse than what 2008-2009 was. And this is actually a warning for the developers that their cash flows are really in a bad shape, and they have to make sure that their current inventory gets sold. As far as pricing is concerned, with no new launches happening, I continue to repeat, how will you see prices coming down?
All right, so I'm going to sum up for the current is, first of all, there's a demand supply mismatch in Greater Mumbai. You have affordable housing, but far-flung areas, as Mayur Shah just pointed out. You need to create much more stock, but that stock ain't going to come if you don't have land prices coming down or more land being released, and of course faster approvals, much faster approvals. For the existing housing stock, well, prices aren't going to come down even though demand has slowed down a lot, simply because new launches are have almost halted. Gentlemen, I'm going to wrap out. That was the Outlook 2015 for the Mumbai market. Nitin Khilawala, Ramesh Nair, Mayur Shah and Sunil Mantri, thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Samir, always great to have you with the data. So Mumbai, the financial capital, the maximum city, really needs to wake up to the possibilities of a better future. It's losing out to cities like Bangalore. Developers are feeling frustrated. People can't own a home in that city. So all in all, something needs to be done. Policymakers have to wake up sooner than later. Otherwise, things aren't looking very good for Mumbai, and everybody is just in a wait and watch mode. Thanks very much for joining me today. Goodbye.